All right. Hi, everybody. So what happens to your mortgage when you change jobs? This is a great topic for Tip Tuesday. So welcome back. My name's Carmen Johnson. I'm with Team Evo AZ with eXp Realty, and I have Ryan Gilliam here with Your Best Mortgage.
Hello, everyone. Welcome
Hey,
back to Tip
Ryan. How's it
Tuesday. Thanks,
going?
Carmen. It's going great.
All right. Well, thanks for coming back here and adding some of your expertise and knowledge. A ton of buyers think changing jobs won't affect their ability to buy, but that's just not always true. So Ryan, if you can kind of walk us through what buyers need to know when they are switching careers, either mid-process, so during a transaction, or before applying, and how that kind of affects them, that would be great.
Yeah. Changing job doesn't always impact your approval. I'm glad we're chatting about this.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
think
uh, you know,
people think that, right?
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a misconception out there. So I'm
Yeah.
glad we're addressing it here.
Mhm.
Basically to qualify for a home purchase, the most important thing you need is a 2-year work history. Now, this could be from multiple jobs that make
Okay.
up the 2 years. And you could actually even use college as part of the
Oh,
2 years in certain cases. So,
know that.
but if you do change jobs, the most important thing is how you get paid.
Okay.
If you're a salary position, or if you get an hourly wage with guaranteed hours, in most cases, a recent job change won't really impact your approval. But if you do switch to a commission job or self-employed,
Hmm.
or if your job is heavily reliant on overtime and bonus income, then you do need more time on the job to qualify.
Okay.
Especially if you're self-employed, we need a 2-year history of self-employment to get qualified. And this is really proven with 2 years of tax returns. So you might need more than 2 years because you have to file those full 2 years of tax returns, and we use
Good
the
point.
average
Okay.
of your net income. Yeah, so that's one thing to be aware of. But if we do need to use overtime, bonus, and commission with a new job, and that's kind of a heavy part of your pay, we usually do need to see a 2-year history of this income so we could take an average. But in some cases, we could actually get an exception with just 1 year. It really depends on how much your income had really increased with your bonuses or overtime or commission. So we could sometimes look at that, especially if you've had prior jobs that have that kind of pay, and we could maybe make it work. But guidelines do like to see 2-year history. So, and another thing to look at in terms of job changes is job gaps.
Okay.
If you're out of work for a period of time, or if you've had frequent job changes, like maybe 5 or 6 employers over a 12-month
Sure.
period,
Yeah.
these are cases where we sometimes need to show some more job stability. And this
Okay.
is typically having 6 months with one employer just to show more stability. So that's one thing that you want to consider, before you make a job switch. It doesn't necessarily hinder you from qualifying, but there
Yeah.
are certain things you got to consider in terms of how you get paid, or if there's been a little bit of gaps or changes, frequent changes. So some things to look at.
Yeah, no, super great points. I think people just have the misconception a little bit.
Yes.
The 2-year rule, and then they don't really know where all of their income kind of fits into that and what that looks like. So super great points. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.